Why is embodiment so essential to be a counter-liturgy to our technologically saturated culture?
Yeah. Well, so much of our digital technologies are freeing us from our bodies, right? We don't have to be physically present, to do work, to do school, to do church, right? All of these things. And there's always been a culture in the early internet origins of a separation of that, that we would be freed from these bodies, and it has this whole Gnostic kind of flavor to it, that it is our minds that are that represent our true essence, and I think there's for some communities and for particular life situations that can be really helpful, right? Like if you are someone that is wheelchair bound and every time you encounter someone in real, embodied interaction, that becomes a stumbling for someone really seeing who you are, right? Because all they see is a wheelchair. Yeah, amen. Being online where you're not, that isn't a part of what someone sees of you can be incredibly empowering and important, right? But with that said, I think certainly within the Christian faith, embodiment is something that we have to deal with because we have this whole thing called the incarnation of Jesus. That's sort of at the center, right, of things, which is, I mean, yeah, it's powerful to really think about, like, that have to happen. Why did Jesus have to be in human bodily form? Why did he have to suffer bodily? Right? Like, there's lots of different ways to suffer. Why the crucifixion? Why the resurrection? Like, why bodily resurrect? Right? Like, there's so many other ways. Why couldn't he just whisk around like a ghost? So I think there's something essential and beautiful about our embodiment that so many of us as Christians have still yet to discover. And again, and this is where, I grew up in East Baptist, but I think of myself as someone who's Anglican now. I think I have come to learn the preciousness of embodied practices in Sunday church, right? That there are times when my body can express where I'm at in ways that I don't have words. I don't even have thoughts to know how to articulate, but my body can express it, right? Through the kneeling or the bowing or the standing, right? And like you said about senses, right? Whether it's the music, or if there's incense happening, right? To feel grounded, right, in my body is something that I myself have come to learn, right? Is part of my own discipleship and faith journey. I mean, I think so many people during the pandemic have come to realize, right, how important it is to be embodied when we are with other people, right? We have missed it so much. That, that's the one hopefulness I have with the pandemic, right? Is that maybe it created such, it took away things that we had taken for granted, right? That we could be embodied with coworker people at church, right? It took it away. So that when we finally could be back together, we could reappreciate how wonderful and challenging, right, it can be to be together. But that there really is something qualitatively different and important, right, about being in person that we just can't quite replicate through the screen.